It is hard to be a coach in the SEC, or so some would have you believe. Kind of taking umbrage with that. But if you listen to Will Stein, maybe you believe it's just about you. Or if you listen to Kirby Smart, maybe you think he's got some opinions about who attractive men in college football are. I want to talk about both of those things. I also want to talk a little bit about what Marshall Faulk had to say about what it takes to play at Southern and what other universities want from them. And all that's coming up after the bumper. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, join the more than 215,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify if you so choose. And I was very excited when I looked at the rundown that my man's producer, Ron, put together, and I saw Kirby Smart on the menu. Kirby Smart had his day in court, or I should say holding court, not in court, holding court at SEC Media Days. And some of the things that he was talking about, yeah, we're going to revisit them because they're fun. So one of Kirby Smart's great just whipping posts, the things he wants to beat on outside of wanting the transfer portal to go down to just one window, which he got because he wanted to know who the hell was on his roster in the spring, is this idea that the SEC does not need the NCAA and that the SEC should probably break away. On Monday, Commissioner Greg Sankey admitted to those asking, hey, yeah, those conversations are real. At the presidential level, at the athletic director's level, at the head coach's level, he has many that are interested in the idea of breaking away from the NCAA to govern themselves because they do not like the way in which, well, the NCAA is governing, which is to say they're not really doing much of it. And we've had local courts getting involved in what were subtle issues at one point before name, image, and likeness came online, immediate transfer portal, and more money, more problems, right? I'm of the opinion that they don't actually want to do this, but Kirby Smart does. And he said, I've actually been there for a long time. And he has. Like, he's telling the truth about that. He does not think that the SEC needs to be in lockstep with the NCAA, and they would do just fine by themselves. And he took that a step further. As a matter of fact, on Get Up, ESPN's Mike Greenberg asked him about the possible future concerning the SEC and the NCAA, and Smart said, I've learned that until we get governance and we have someone that has that actually has the power to make decisions, or we can make decisions within our own community, we're not going to have much control. And that's unfortunate. If that's the best alternative, splitting off, to get everybody playing by the same rules, I would do that. Of course you would, because the South's answer to every big problem is to secede. We don't want to play with you anymore. So we're going to take our ball over here, and we can fight about it if you want. As it feels like, history repeating itself, and I'm making jokes here, but this is it. This is also the conference that brought us conference championship games. And many of y'all are conveniently forget that. Many of you that say, I don't like a conference championship game anyway. The SEC brought this online in 1990 because they wanted to make more money, because television was like, yo, if you do this, everybody can make a boatload of cash. What do you think? And the SEC's championship game is one of the most lucrative in the sport for obvious reasons. Now, how do you put all these things together without the NCAA? For football, it's rather easy because the NCAA doesn't do much in as far as helping you create the college football playoff because they don't own it. That's the commissioners and those folks plus Notre Dame's athletic director make up the college football playoff board of managers. However, the NCAA owns the men's basketball tournament and the women's basketball tournament, and I would assume the SEC wants to play in those. So breaking away might also make that a little bit more difficult. So I don't know that anybody's really thought this through on that front. Again, this is to the question of what dominoes would have to fall for the SEC to commit to independence. And I don't think that we're there yet. I think we'd have to see a collapsing of the infrastructure that we call the NCAA for this to happen. That said, somebody somewhere could come up with some Ferdinand possibility, some unforeseen circumstance that could lead to the SEC saying, enough, we're doing it. But again, the process for doing that is so unknown and has so many moving parts. I don't think they want to. I think they want to threaten the rest of the NCAA and its membership to try to do things in the way that we all should, which is, we all watch the Odyssey, follow Zeus's rule. That's all. Treat your neighbor as if your neighbor might be a god. Only problem for us is that the SEC tends to think, it's in the pantheon. And because the SEC tends to think that it's in the pantheon, every SEC football coach tends to think that he's a major god. And I think that's the kind of energy that Will Stein is bringing in to the SEC, where maybe it is hard to be an SEC football coach, but that one don't hold no water over here. What does hold some water over here is, can you win football games? Can you win them at a high level? So I did this segment yesterday, but I want to come at it a little bit differently and talking about Will Stein basically saying, I'm him at SEC Media Days on Monday. Because he was asked straight up, why do you think that you can win big here? Big being win the SEC championship, make the college football playoff, play for championships. And he said, quote, I think because of me, to be honest. I know what it takes. I have seen it at the highest levels. I know what it takes to recruit at this level. You just got to believe. Is it going to happen overnight? I don't know. I know the players that we can get here. I know we can recruit north, south, and east. People come to Lexington and love it. The longer I live there, the more I am like, wow, this place is incredible. It's got everything that you want. You have to go attack. You can't sit back and wait. That's one thing I refuse to do at Kentucky is wait. Dog, you in Lexington. You going to do a lot of waiting in Lexington. You're at a basketball school. And I realize that because everybody's got Indiana on the brain, they think that a basketball school could flip around and win the national championship with a coach that's got a little bit of bravado to him. And you know what? Kurt Signetti showed up and said, hey, look, I don't suck. Why would we suck? I don't suck. I've never sucked. All I do is win. I'm the DJ Khaled song. And that turned out to be true at Indiana. The difference between what Kurt Signetti has done at Indiana and what Will Stein is doing at Kentucky is actually fairly obvious to me. And this is the thing that I didn't touch on as I was talking through this segment yesterday. I'll give it to you in a quote that Will Stein gave again. Okay. Talking about putting in work, and unless you're, Indiana, can you be great overnight? Quote, or this isn't his quote, but this is a quote about his team. Excuse me. He convinced quarterback Kenny Minchey to transfer to Kentucky from Notre Dame after initially committing to Nebraska, and signed up a top 10 transfer portal class that includes C.J. Baxter at Texas, Javonte Barnes at Oklahoma, 3 all-conference offensive linemen, and their previous schools, and 13 transfers on defense. Matter of fact, the only thing that this thing is missing that I would point out is that Lance Hurd is at Kentucky, and Lance Hurd is a dude on that offensive line, anybody's offensive line, quite honestly. But these dudes ain't like the ones that Kurt Signetti brought to Indiana. Because what Kurt Signetti did was bring a bunch of his own players from his previous stop, James Madison, to Indiana. You know what I don't see coming from Oregon with our man Will Stein? Dante Moore, DeCorian Moore, Evan Stewart. I can keep going, but I won't, because those are hitters. Those are starters. Those are dudes that know how to play for championships. Okay? They ain't in Kentucky. They're in Eugene. Right? Also on there, think about the names that you just heard. C.J. Baxter, Javonte Barnes, and Kenny Minchey. Kenny Minchey could not beat C.J. Carr out for a job at Indiana. Curtis Rourke, Kurt Signetti's first quarterback at Indiana, was a starter at Ohio. The starter at Ohio. Fernando Mendoza was the starter at Cal before he became the starter at Indiana. C.J. Baxter, coming off ACL injury, couldn't beat out Quintravion Wisner for carries at Texas last year, and both of them got the boot. Javonte Barnes damaged goods at Oklahoma because a true freshman named Torrey Blaylock showed up to take what was his, and another guy named Xavier Robinson showed up to take second best. What I'm saying is, you're not going to win anything with sloppy seconds. That's not how that works. What Curt Cignetti did when he didn't get James Madison to do is go get a bunch of great players who were on bad football teams. Everybody he brought in is a dude from the place he came from. The 3 guys that I just read off to you are not dudes at the place they came from. So unless Will Stein is a better developer of talent than Curt Cignetti, I'm just going to keep saying, yeah, man, it's nice to have dreams. It's nice to have goals. And I think, as we get close to this part, yo, Ron, you gave me this thing about Kirby Smart and Nick Saban in the SEC a few years ago. Can you give it to the people?
Yes. So what a few years ago in conversations, I basically said that if you were to have from top to bottom a copy of prime Nick Saban, prime Kirby Smart, coach every single team, by the end of the season, after a couple of seasons, 75% of them would be fired.
And it's true, right? Because somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. And I don't think that enough people remember that Nick Saban wasn't nobody till he got to LSU. Some would argue Michigan State, but I'm not. Because they were all right that 1 year at Michigan State, and then his agent did a job getting him into LSU. So you had Nick Saban, who was a nomad as his assistant, and then finally got a head coaching job at Toledo. They were okay. Michigan State, they were a little bit okay to better. And then at LSU, he turns into a juggernaut. But that's 30, 40 years of trying to figure it out. Before you get there, Kirby Smart is on the same staff for like 10, 12 years before he gets an opportunity to go do it. But I think his point is very much taken, right? And would you swap Will Stein for Kirby Smart, who separates from their university first? No. I think if you put Kirby Smart over Kentucky, you're going to win. I think you put Will Stein at Georgia, you're going to lose. I think being a head coach that has been winning as an assistant coach and as a head coach outranks the guy who was winning at Oregon and has yet to coach a game from the sideline where it's going to be his name in the loss column, if that's exactly what they do. But again, coaching the SEC is hard, especially when you look around and is college football fugly? I'm asking that sincerely, dog. So our man Kirby Smart says about Lane Kiffin, among other things, that he's college football's Adonis. And it was one of the first times where I actually had some remorse about not being right there in the crowd at media days asking for the microphone, because I want the follow-up right after that. Hand me the microphone. Kirby, RJ Young, Adapt and Respond, National College Football Analyst, Fox Sports. Did you know that Adonis is black? Here, you can have it back. He picked an Egyptian god. He picked an Egyptian. Okay, so we do that, right? We do that. And then I was talking to Ron about this, and again, I couldn't help it. So I blew up the production meeting by going, outside of Marcus Freeman, who was on the cover of Esquire this spring, by the way, and is the most attractive head football coach in the entire country across sports, who is on the list? So I actually asked a female friend the same question, and she came back with, first, Kirby saying that is wild. Second, it's got to be Marcus Freeman. And then I don't know about the rest of the list, right? Pulling like Sean McVay out or Brent Venables, who I guess could be something like that. But like, Ron, we were talking about this probably longer than you wanted to talk about it, honestly. But who else could make this list of attractive head coach?
It's a tough. I initially said there's a whole bunch of attractive coaches out there. There's got to be. And then I froze and I couldn't think of another name outside of Marcus Freeman. Because in my brain, everybody is the old ball coach, and I wouldn't say that the Bobby Bowdens of the world are particularly attractive. But the most obvious pick to me, above Marcus Freeman, is Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. And it might just be because in my mind's eye, he still's got that Jerry Curl and the brick phone, or it might be just because I'm washed and it's lemon pepper stepper time, but it's Deion.
Above Marcus Freeman?
Yes, to me.
Ooh, that's the only controversial part of that for me. So Marcus Freeman and I are the same age. Deion Sanders, I think, turns 55 next month. I think 54, 55, somewhere in there. Maybe 56. I'm missing it. He also missing a toe. How much that might matter to you, kind of like Thor, who didn't come out of his fight with Hela with both of his eyes. And charisma, Deion, going away, right? Going away. It's not close. But Steve Spurrier got charisma, and we would have never called that man attractive, right? Mike Leach got charisma.
I hate to stop you, but I think Steve Spurrier actually kind of has that extra gear. You know, we might need to take this one off, Mike.
Look, that extra gear. When we come back, let's talk about Magic Mike, the college football edition, because Ron is just throwing Steve Spurrier's hat into the ring. We got to come back with that. No, we will put that. We might actually need to do that segment again and take it off, Mike. But I do want to talk a bit more about the ups and downs of playing the SEC and what chasing the bag might actually do for you, black man, after the break. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, consider joining the more than 215,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. Also, you can subscribe on Apple and Spotify, where you can listen to the show at your leisure. I want to talk a little bit about the ups and downs of being a bag man, or I should say a receiver of the bag, from the bag man, in the SEC, or as Ron has titled this, the ups and downs of the bag chase, which I think is funny as hell. So we got news that Ahmad Hardy is actually on his way to recovery and could be playing football very, very soon, which is cool, right? Ahmad Hardy, who went to a concert, got shot in the leg in June, and that looked like it was going to be the end of the season for him, as far as I'm concerned, and that's the best tailback in all of college football. It's not close. I really enjoyed his journey from ULM to Missouri, and now going into this really important year for him where he can go to the NFL draft and probably go in the first round. But then you got shot in the leg. So Eli Drinkwitz, after revealing, hey, actually he's doing a good job, we expect that he might be able to play football in the next 4 or 5 weeks. It's doing what Eli Drinkwitz does on morning shows, which is have a good time and make jokes. Very good at this. So he goes on SEC this morning, and he says that, had all SEC left tackle Caden Green, been with Ahmad Hardy, Ahmad would have been all right, because ain't nothing going to get through Caden Green to Ahmad Hardy, to which I would say only if the price is right. I mean, you better have hope that the agreed upon amount is still agreed upon, and he doesn't want no more loot. Just ask Oklahoma fans about that. Caden Green was never supposed to be left tackle at Missouri as far as OU fans, because we had an agreement. We had a deal. You reneged on that deal. That makes you a renege. Nobody like that. So I would say, once again, like, he might be early to bed. He might be the kind of dude that punches the clock. He's also the kind of man that counts his money down to the dollar, probably does it in front of you. And if you're $1 short, that bullet might be somewhere else. But if the price is right, I'm sure he'd have been there and it'd have been fine. It'd have been great. Everything would have gone just as it was supposed to. Oklahoma fans probably feel some kind of way about this right now. Running back at Georgia, Dante Dowdle, is injured. So that's interesting in that Dowdle was supposed to fortify their backfield. We all knew what Nate Frazier was going to be, but having Dowdle was going to make it a lot more fun. Smart put it just that way. He's injured. We don't know when his return will be. I don't know the specifics of it, to be honest with you. It was a recreational vehicle, and he had some serious injuries. He's out of the really tough range, but as far as his complete health and coming all the way back, I don't know what it looks like in terms of this year. Whether or not he gets to play, we want him to be okay. That's first and foremost, but it also is interesting that it's Dante Dowdle. Dante Dowdle, who played 2023 at Oregon, play 2024 at Nebraska and play 2025 at Kentucky and, might get to play 2026 at Georgia. Yeah. Road tripping across the world or, United States. You get an opportunity to do this and you get paid to do it. That's better than a gap year, right? You get paid the chance to be a traveling nurse. Do you do that? Probably, right? And I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of yes, you're getting paid and you're chasing the bag, right? Bear Alexander, TJ Finley come to mind. But also, wouldn't it just be cool in this age of I can go anywhere and play for anybody to do just that? To turn that into your travel logs? Hey, I did Eugene. Let me do Lexington, which is a thing nobody said. And then let me go see Athens, which is a thing nobody said. But if you're talking about atmospheres and playing for different kinds of institutions where they're going to be good or bad, you want the full experience. And apparently he did because he went from Oregon to Nebraska to Kentucky. Oregon, who's good. Nebraska, Kentucky, who are not. To Georgia, who's good. You want to see all of life's great pleasures and experience them for yourself. It's one way of looking at it, man. I'm also quite interested in now, if he does get to play, does he get the medical red shirt? Because if he gets the medical red shirt, who knows? Maybe that man wants to go to Boise, Idaho. Who could know? Marshall Faulk no longer thinks that the next level for his HBCU talent is the NFL. Marshall Faulk, who is the head coach of Southern, congratulations on his 1-year anniversary. He put it this way to HBCU Game Day. I believe that the next level is no longer the NFL. We get poached by the FBS. They want our players. They have an opportunity to maybe go somewhere and make good money while they're in college. The game has changed. The landscape of college football has changed. Yeah, Marshall. First of all, win the Bayou Classic. Second of all, it ain't that they want your players so much. It's that they want everybody's players. They want Nicholls State. They want McNeese State. They want Northwestern State. If it sounds like I'm just naming schools in Louisiana that don't play FBS football, it's because I am. Okay? If you got a dude, any dude that has some wiggle to him, some smoke to him, they want him. And the way that this is working isn't that SWAC players go and play FBS. Some do. Let's look at Dion's roster 2023, right? However, a lot of them go play FCS football somewhere else because that's how that works. Generally, the way this works is you get your Power Fours that do transfer within, but for the most part, Power Four rosters go get group of six players, go get FCS players, go get Division II players, right? Like that's generally how that works. And depending on how good you are in the SWAC, like playing for championships, your players go play in the FBS. If you're not playing for championships, UCL might be looking at you going, hey, young man, how would you like to move to Edmond, Oklahoma? Central Arkansas might be looking at this really great Southern Jaguar. Talk about, hey, Conway, Arkansas says, what's up? What you got? Or the Tarleton State Texans coming to you going, do you really want to be down there getting swamped behind all the time? Losing to Grambling? I mean, that's how I get to all this, man. I don't think that he's wrong so much as I think that he's oversimplifying this. Ron, what is your opinion of what Marshall Faulk said about SWAC players being recruited to the FBS?
I think that Marshall Faulk is not saying anything that's like world shattering or like breaking news. I think that he is just vocalizing the thing that's happening in college football, which is all the talent is getting sucked upwards. In talks when we were in a meeting, I said, "Oh no, it's because Ohio State's taking his players," and you corrected me. It's not the Ohio States; it's the UCOs, the FAUs, the ULMs that are taking his players. But what I was trying to get at is that those teams' players are being not taken, but like are being funneled towards our bigger, older money situations. And if you were trying to build a team in the old style, trying to repair a transcript or dealing with a homesick kid, that era, I think it's like that the door to that era closed. I think we now have a Hall of Famer that will tell you the same.
I don't disagree with the overall sentiment. I do think that is an oversimplification, and we can agree on that, I believe. I also think that, to the point of, I can make $1 million at 17, whereas I used to could only make $1 million at 21 is different, right? 6 years from being a middle schooler, you could be making $1 million as opposed to 12 years. And also, this is yet another head coach who is moaning and complaining about not being able to build his roster, which leads me back to this question that Ron gave me. What's your equivalent to say your prayers and eat your vitamins, as it denotes, hey, secure the bag and protect it? Mac Brown did this show when I first got started at Fox, right? April 2021. And transfer portal was big deal. And I said, Coach, how do you deal with it? At Texas, he's at UNC, and they're doing great things. Like Drake May is on the way, and they're about to be pretty damn good. He had Sam Howell at the time. And he said, I tell my coaches, kiss your players at night and hug them in the morning because they could be in the transfer portal. So what do you do when you have a kid that tells you, they want to enter the portal? It's like, well, first, I am always impressed when they do because they don't have to. They can go straight to compliance, and I never have to hear about it because they don't have to tell me. They just got to tell compliance, put their name in the portal. But what I generally do is say, where do you want to go? I got those contacts. I'm Mac Brown. I can call anybody. Where do you want to go? If you want to go there, I will try to get you there. And in that, I would say the same thing. I will keep the dudes that I'm supposed to keep. The guys that I'm not, I've got to go do what is called my damn job and go recruit better players. All right. That is going to do it for today's episode of Adapt and Respond, College Football Podcast. Please join the 215,000 subscribers to the show and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and share this with a friend. We will catch y'all on the flip side. Doses.